Sorry, there aren't any slides of Larry in here, but I did take Mayor Lee's advice and came down on Saturday and spent a lot of time in Mount Gambier. I'd have to echo the Minister's thoughts that there's an amazing amount of things to find out about when you travel from a city and into the regional areas, and it's a terrific forum. I'm really pleased to be here, so thanks for having me. Another disclaimer though, Stuart, you keep talking about leading academics. I'm certainly not that. I'm a leading practitioner, perhaps, but really important that roles like mine exist in universities where amazing research and amazing things happen to be able to find unique and different ways to bring that to the fore. So despite the very long title, I really want to just talk about what's happening at a disruptive level, at a very high level globally, and what that might mean for South Australia and the regions, but also some examples of the work we do and what it means for us as a university to transform ourselves, to innovate ourselves. So this is our amazing building at Tonsley. Flinders has invested heavily in the site down there, the old Mitsubishi manufacturing site, an amazing precinct where tremendously innovative things happen day in, day out. So really I want to talk today about what that means for the university, but also more broadly, how that can impact the communities in which we operate. I love this Albert Einstein quote because it really epitomises what we need to think about, all of us here in the room, at universities, businesses and government alike. You can't keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different things to happen. You know, the definition of insanity, some would call it. So what does that mean for disruption? What's this framework that we're working in? So if you're worried about how fast things are going, don't worry. Today is as slow as it will ever be. It only gets faster from here, right? Some stats there that I just find astounding to take you up to what does digital disruption mean? What does innovation, what does transformation in all our industries mean? 2.7 billion likes on Facebook, many of them John Chapman's and the Commissioner, which is great. 2.7 billion in e-commerce in 24 hours, which is an incredible concept. Something that we didn't even have about 10 years ago. 500,000 Airbnb stays, one of which I enjoyed over the weekend. 133 million hours of video watched on YouTube. So if you're not using these channels, if you're not understanding this disruption, it's going to be difficult to succeed and to thrive. So that transformational piece is really important. The final one there, 1.9 million smartphone subscriptions every 24 hours. Mobile and the way that we use data and the way that that will impact how we live our lives is already here. So we heard today, and I just mentioned to Bill just before he left, that it was great to hear him reflect on the fact that he hasn't yet found the business model, and that's okay. But it's important to realise as well that this digital disruption, transformation, is actually about 3 different impacts on businesses and on institutions and on government. It's about changes in infrastructure models and changes in operating models as well as changes in business models. So Ben reflected on his initial work with George and looking for a subscription-based model to drive different revenues. That's a business model. That's a different way to drive revenues into your business. And that's certainly seeking different ways to increase revenue to create greater value is critical. But you also need to think about the operating model. How are those resources you have organised? Many of the businesses that we work with have a very distributed workforce. They've got people, overseas doing work for them on the development side of things. They've got people in the eastern states doing sales. The ability to organise your business in a different operating environment is critical. And of course, infrastructure. Today, there's no excuse to not have the server capacity or not have the capability to scale your business rapidly. A startup in Adelaide recently was on Shark Tank. Many of you have seen Shark Tank. He's posted his journey about what happened in that 2 minutes following that episode and what it meant for his server infrastructure, what it meant to be able to cope with that traffic. Everyone going, what's this company called? So the ability to scale your infrastructure at a digital level and at a hardware level is very critical. And if you're not thinking about those things as you go through this transformation period, you'll also find it very difficult. But of course, what does all that mean? Why are those things important? Digital disruption is far more than those little bits and model change. It's about really understanding these driving meta forces that are there, the value of data. Everyone talks about how we draw different insights from data and how we might make sense of it, how we might create new business models for that. Customer intimacy seems a very interesting term, but really getting back to understanding exactly what every customer needs, not by necessarily going and talking to every one of them individually, but by understanding their patterns, understanding how they utilise your products and services and making sense of them. Servitisation. So really, there's some really interesting stats around this, which I won't bore you with, but really, if you're in a service industry now, within 5 to 10 years, you'll find that most of what is done in the service industry, all the way from major consulting companies down to accounting firms, can be automated, can be servitised. So thinking about what role you play in that, how does a business establish its new operating models to deal with that sort of change? And of course, security. We've seen a lot of the federal campaign talking about cybersecurity and the massive focus on that and what have you. The need to understand that as we connect billions and billions of devices to the web, understanding that they're secure, understanding that you can safely use them as a business, as an institution, or as a government is really critical. So digital disruption and these meta-transformational trends are really, really critical. So what does it mean for us? What does it mean for a university that knows that we're going to be operating in that environment, that knows that these things are happening, not about to happen, not going to happen in some distant thing? How do we deal with it? So for us at Flinders, we created the new Venture Institute, and this sort of is analogous to what my role has been over the last 3 years, moving fast and breaking things. It's essential to try different things that don't all work. So our brief was to reinvent the way that the university creates impact and do that in a number of ways. Bold thinking about careers for the students that will be here tomorrow. What are those industries that we don't yet know? What are those skills that we know that they will need to have but we don't know how to define them? And how do we connect business and research in better and different ways? 2.5 years old, as I said, and we have those 3 objectives there: engaging businesses, working with experiential education, and startup creation, the very exciting part that we've been very successful at. It's important that that's in the commons, that you bring the whole university capability around that. All 3 major institutions in the state have immense capability across a broad spectrum of roles. We see Flinders here with the rural health and nursing areas, and UniSA here as well, TAFE. There's a massive capacity there. Understanding how you bring that together and create new value has been really critical. How have we gone? We've had around 252 student projects across some 102 SMEs, and I apologise to our friend from the Mount Gambier Motel before who didn't get a reply. I'm on to that. But we have been oversubscribed for businesses interested in working with these passionate, enthusiastic, innovative students to help them find how to make sense of this transformative environment. We run innovation management workshops and disruption workshops. We've also created 136 startups, and that's had a massive effect. 50 full-time jobs, just over, and around $6 million of new value created in the economy. It's early days. They're nice numbers. We expect them to grow, and we're really working hard to make that happen. And really this concept of training, it's there in inverted commas because it's very difficult to train an entrepreneur. You want to train them to see opportunity, as we heard from Noel at the very start. How do you train someone to identify opportunities that no one else can see? You provide them with the mechanisms to find different ways to do that. We can't do that alone. We have a massive network of business and civic leaders that help us do that, mentoring, advising, investing even. And 1,400 odd businesses from around the state that are taking part in these to help get that advantage, to see how they can play in this digital space. But very much for Flinders, that moving fast and breaking things, changing that dynamic about being open for business, being able to have a conversation with the university rather than go down multiple rabbit holes. So that positioning is about ensuring that we, after all, have 28,000 students in our institution. How do we ensure that they are the graduates that you need to drive your business, to drive your understanding of this innovative environment that we're all living in? So that's our ambition. How do we create that most innovative employees coming through? We also want to support those that come through wanting to create an enterprise, and that's where those startups have come from. But importantly for us, seeding innovative and entrepreneurial thinking, creativity, identification of creativity is really critical. So they've been a hallmark of what we've done so far. We're at the beginning, and this Henry Ford quote, which is cut off there, coming together is a beginning, keeping together is a process, working together is success. We're at the last part of that, working together with industry, working together with students to make this work. So the potential of this is massive. So if we think about the students coming out, as opposed to just specific technical skills, having a far broader T-shaped understanding of what innovation and disruption might mean, instilling that sense of personal enterprise, opportunities to create your own value or add value to your entities and businesses. So we've also ensured that businesses find Flinders easy to engage with, that there's value created there, and those deeper external relationships really create an immense opportunity for growth. So what does all this mean? What's the point of all this? And clearly this links into a very troubling global phenomenon. Universities in Australia are right down the bottom when it comes to businesses wanting to engage with us. So this is a chart from the OECD. You can see us, okay, use the pointer, right down the bottom. Behind New Zealand, which is never a good place to be. Apologies to Kiwis in the audience. But our collaboration across R&D with business from universities, despite the amazing things happening in universities, is really poor. So this has to move the needle on why this is important. And our students working with businesses, our researchers working with businesses, and people creating new entities from what they learn through that process is a very important ingredient to that. A couple of case studies and some names you'll know. Ferguson's we've worked with on a range of levels, and Sardi were involved with part of this with one of our research programs, our marine bioproducts area. They had a new product they wanted to develop out of their waste product. It meant greater efficiencies for them because they could use waste and create value from that. We had both a research engagement and a team of students looking at new market entry, looking at where the most appealing market would be for a lobster or shellfish-based byproduct. And then we also put student interns in with their marketing department to implement their expansion into Asia. So not only were they engaged with the university through multiple channels, they had a go-to-market strategy in about three months around a new product from a research piece that Sardi and our researchers had come up with. It's a lobster dust for macadamia nuts, if anyone's that way inclined. We've also worked extensively with RDAs around the state. So RDA Barossa, as most of the RDAs work with a range of different companies. And so this company they were working with was DCM, or a design group up that way. They had an innovative solution to fires post the terrible bushfires we had last season. And so DCM came along. We put a consulting team of students with them, looking at their technology, finding ways for engineers to link with them, and looking at how we might get that. We got PwC's support into that, and we also brought professional grade, commercial grade advisors in to ensure the engagement was shaped. And that pracademic focus, this wasn't an academic piece, it was about how will we practically get this product to market. In closing, this is clearly an area that we are all very interested in because we're here at an innovation, a transformation, a collaboration regional summit. That's the heart of what we do at Flinders and the heart of what the Tonsley Precinct means to us, why we're invested in it. The major point I want to leave you with is this won't be easy. It will hurt. And that ability to stay the course, as we heard from Bill, to move forward, to take the leap when the landlord decides to sell the place from under you and buy it, and still find your way to that business model is really, really important, I think. So thanks for having me today. I'd love for you to contact us and let us know what you're doing. We do a lot of work in the regions through all of our elements of the university, and be very keen to see how we can help you transform your business. Thank you.